So I did a video last week that was talking about the tariffs and how some of my stores are handling the news about tariffs, even though it changes day to day. I really think the message that we all need to remember is we can't be too reactive. So, Ford and CDGR announced that they're going to push this whole We're American Made campaign. Well, no, you're not. I'm sorry, you're not. There's no one car in the entire world that's 100% made in the country in which they sell it. Not one. Every single manufacturer imports parts from other countries, imports pieces of the car, or assembles the complete car in another country. It's a global effort on some cars. There's pieces for EV batteries that aren't made in the United States, that you can't get in the United States. There's pieces for the internal computers on certain vehicles that you can't, for Nissans, that are made in Japan and only Japan. There's internal computer pieces that are made for every vehicle. Like, I could go down the list of every OEM. There's pieces in the construction, the frame, the metal, the electronics that are made outside of the country. Now, if you want to push your narrative that you're assembled in the United States, nobody is assembling 100% of their inventory in the United States right now. Yeah, there are several brands that are assembling some of their models, in the United States. But not one of them is doing 100% in the United States. So I think it's misleading, number one, and we're in an industry where we already struggle to earn trust of the consumer. So I don't think that's helping. And number two, what are you trying, what's the goal there? You're trying to say that, we're assembled in the United States. We have some cars, a few of them, these two over here, that are actually fully assembled in the United States. So we're American made. Like, no. I just think that's dumb. And honestly, I don't know that you're inspiring any kind of consumer confidence by doing that. Anyway, rant over. So I wouldn't push that narrative, because it was no sooner that we had all that creative built up than we had been given the direction that we need to take it all down, because it's not legal to do that, because it's not true. So this goes back to what I was saying last week, is let's try not to be reactive to these kinds of things. So I think everybody who's selling cars now, or most everybody in leadership positions at least, was selling cars during COVID. And everybody flew around like Chicken Little, that the sky was falling. And we had some tight months in 2021, 2022. That is for sure. However, this is not that time. This is not the time to panic. I've got, I think, 2 manufacturers as of today, it might change tomorrow, that have said they're pausing all delivering incoming vehicles into the United States. 2. That's it. Out of how many manufacturers are there? I'm sure there'll be more. I'm sure by the time I post this, it'll probably be 6 or 10 or whatever. That's their prerogative. That's their narrative. That, in my opinion, I don't think that does us any justice to then jack up the prices of the vehicles we have remaining on the lot. And why? That's probably a question that I would get, is, well, why shouldn't we? Because that'll slow down, our inventory leaving our lot. Yeah, you're right. So is your goal just to sell one car to one customer today? Because if that's your goal, you're going about it the right way. They will never buy once they get 3-4 years. Actually, it's longer, because we've been putting them in longer loans. So 4 or 5 years from today, and they're still buried in the car that you sold them over MSRP today. Then what? Because they're never going to buy from you, and they're never going to buy that brand again. So I really strongly encourage dealerships, don't think short game. When times like this come about, we have to slow down from being reactive, and we have to think long game. So, and I have a different story side of this for the second half of what I'm going to talk about for my windshield time today. So if you can slow roll that. Now, I'm not saying you need to, give away every car. You need to have like a loser deal. I'm not saying you need to take those. Of course, we need to. It's a profit business. Nobody has UNICEF Ford Motor Company sitting on the front of the building. It's a for-profit business. most people, most logical, reasonable, intelligent people understand it's a for-profit business. However, that's why I'm saying let's not be reactive. Let's keep our standards as far as where your advertising going. We're breathing down the neck of Memorial Day. This is not the time to change vendors for your website, for your digital advertising, for your CRM. This is not the time to do that. We're going into selling season. If you are going to make vendor changes on anything, that should have happened at the very latest after NADA in January. At the very latest. If you haven't done it by now, you need to not do that now. So being reactive about, well, we're slowing down and selling cars. Yeah, so is everybody else. Pick up a newspaper. Look at your phone, open Google, and look at the news. Everybody's slowing down on sales. It's not just cars. It's everything. Anything and everything that you can possibly sell and import to the United States. From avocados to wigs to cars. All of them are slowing down and going up in price because people are being reactive. Now part 2. So part 2 of this is I had a store that is upset that they're not selling as much. They've got 2 direct competitors in their market, and they're upset they're not selling as much as the 2 direct competitors. So I got to thinking, looking at the way the campaigns, and I don't have the other 2 competitors in, I think we've got one of them in our book of business, but the way their campaigns are built, and then the way that I can see from a, Google Ads transparency, I can kind of guesstimate the way their ads are built. So I'm looking at all this stuff, and and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go look at his inventory mix. And I'm realizing for this market, you really need entry-level trim on these vehicles. It needs to be the baseline trim for the demographic they have in this area, largely the income level, the price points, what's been purchased in the past 12 months. That all guides me to they need to have this price point vehicle or lower, and that's pretty much what they need to stock. My client has stocked all high level, top level, most expensive level trim on almost all their vehicles. So if you're not going to be competitive in price from the consumer's eyes, apples to apples. So if I see 3 F-150s from you and 3 F-150s from John Q competitor dealership, and your 3 F-150s are $8,000 more, $10,000 more than his, I don't see the trim, I just see that price tag. So I'm going to go look at the cheaper guy probably. So, and I'm not saying that that's every single market or that, that's what we should be advertising is the lowest level trim. But if you don't have any of those in your inventory mix, none, 0, goose egg, and the other guy has almost all of his F-150s are that entry-level price point. I mean, who do you think is going to get more conversions, more key events that are going to take place within their campaigns? Probably that other guy. So instead of going through and deciding, then fire everybody, we need a new website provider, we need a new digital vendor, we're going to fire everybody. Instead of making that very reactive decision, that's really going to ultimately just cost you and your store and your team, your sales team, a lot of business. You really should be thinking in terms of, all right, let me sit with this vendor and let me see what they come up with and let me see what the ideas they have are. Because part 2 of that example dealership that I'm talking about is also a dealer where the GM never took the advice of the 2 subject matter experts he had on the phone. Never. Not once. Every time we gave him advice, he'd be like, yeah, that's great, but I know this market. I think I want to do this. Okay, but that's, the data's not telling us to do that. Yeah, I know this market better. So now that we're on the other side of that and you know the market better and we went ahead and did what you wanted to do and now it's not performing and now it's the vendor's fault, that doesn't make any sense. And if you're going to do that with every single vendor you have, the problem is not the vendor. Just little kind of public service announcement. You hired that vendor for their knowledge. Anybody